Welcome to the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. This show is designed to inform you about the issues, programs, and people important to Alaska. In this edition of the Alaska Report, I'm hosting Dr. Tara Jones, who is the CEO of the Alaska SeaLife Center in Seward. The SeaLife Center offers an unparalleled up-close view of Alaska marine wildlife and has delighted tourists and Alaska families for the past decade. The center is also a premier marine research facility and an accredited member of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Let me first kick it to you, if I can, and just tell us a little about the SeaLife Center. I mean, I've been there, and I know a lot of Alaskans have, but some people may not have ever been there or exactly know what it does. Why don't you tell us a little about what it's like?
The center is one of the most amazing visitor attractions in Seward. It's a place that you can come and see animals from both above the water and below the water. A lot of those animals that you may have seen just their heads up out in the water, to actually see how they swim, how they eat, and how we train them. So we've got Steller sea lions and lots of seabirds. Puffins are most people's favorite.
Right, they love the puffins.
Love the puffins. Crested, we've got tufted and horned puffins. And of course the aquarium fish and invertebrates. We've got a touch tank. And several octopus.
Now, what kind of tank?
A touch tank, so you can touch the animals.
Right. Now,
starfish,
kids,
adults
just,
too.
Yeah, the kids really just
kids
like,
love that place.
They love
exactly.
That. And you have, if I remember my experience there, it's not only a place to see, but it's also to get education, right? I mean,
Correct.
you have schools that come there, but also people who do research. But from the school's perspective or kids' perspective and adults, it's set up to be an educational system.
Absolutely, and our visitor season is very short in the summer,
right.
But we're very busy year-round. In the off season from the visitor season is the school year, and so we have staff that schools groups come down to the center to get programs, and we sometimes have them do a fish print or dissect a squid.
They used to actually
dissect a squid and get. They use the ink to draw pictures with
really?
squid ink out of each squid. So there's some great hands-on programs we do. And if you can't bring your kids to Seward for these programs, we also do distance education programs where we go on basically a video conference setup and do live programs streamed across the country, across the world. We have some going to Australia.
So you not only do Alaska residents, but across the country and across the world. It is not only I would say one of our treasures here in Alaska, but it's an international asset. Is that a fair?
Correct, and especially with the interest in the Arctic with climate change, that we've gotten a lot of renewed interest from all over the world, and I think we've taught classes in more than 40 states in the U.S. So.
And you have hosted, if I'm not mistaken, several times I've at least read or seen, you've hosted conferences often on people who come there to do research, but also discussions and symposiums on marine life and so forth.
Right. We just hosted the International Sea Duck Conference that was earlier this fall that brought in scientists from around the world. And that
most of them first time, do you think?
Most of them first time to Seward. Most of them knew each other and had talked
Sure.
to our scientists that do, especially our eider work that we do, which is a sea duck in Alaska. But yeah, most of them hadn't been there before, and it's typically in the off season, so they get to see the center at its best when there's lots of space to move around and see the animals and see those birds that they really wanted to see. I
know when I was there during one of the summers, it was busy. You know, you want to see it all, but it's hard, but it's great when you're in there, and you can spend, it's not one of those facilities where you go and you just kind of zip through it and then you're out. You can actually find sections that you really want to spend more time in. I guess just take your hat off for a second as a CEO, but from what's your favorite part that you like to go to and see, maybe with people or just be there and watch it or be part of it? What's your?
There's in the off season, I love to sit in our underwater viewing area and just watch the animals.
Yeah.
And there's there'll be a few visitors down there maybe, and so you can talk to them about who the animals are and what they're doing. But the animals are just so interactive. With people sometimes, and so you can watch the harbor seals spin in loops, and Woody may come by the window and take a look at you. But it's so quiet, and it's just such a quiet experience. But my favorite all-time animal right now is not what most people think. It's not the octopus or the puffins, which are great, but we have this variegated.
You don't want to discount those.
No, nothing wrong with those. But we have this variegated snailfish, which is the most amazing kind of ugly, spooky sort of whitish fish. fish that's always kind of in the same spot in this tank. And one of our aquarium
Is
staff.
it alive?
It is.
Okay, I'm just checking because it sounds
yeah.
like it's not moving.
Last week, I was in the building late enough, and one of the aquarium staff let me go up while they were feeding it.
Oh, so you saw it move.
I saw it come up and eat some shrimp. So,
wow.
but you can get engrossed in any of the exhibits if you really look. Every single one of them has something really unusual. There's the potato head fish. I forget what its real name is. But there's just
related to the potato man?
I don't think so. But you see the eels if you look long enough. But there's the obvious things that you see up front. But then each of the exhibits, when you look in closer, you see something more.
And now the staff that you have there, obviously highly qualified. They're just not caretakers. They're not just someone who greets you at the door, but they have a lot of incredible skills. Tell me a little about the staff, and do you do, like we do internships here, we have people experience government at its finest and at its worst, depends on the day, but tell me what the engagement of your staff is, and then how do you have fellows and interns and things like that people should know about or maybe want to participate?
Right. We have about 80 to 90 full-time staff year-round, which is a lot more than most people think we have.
I was going to say, because when I go there, you see a lot of people, but you don't, and it's probably because I don't see the research component. Is that what I'm missing there?
Right. The research and the animal care staff is probably half of our staff. And they're just as busy now in the winter as they are in the summer. In the summer, we actually hire additional staff on a seasonal basis that we're always advertising for in the spring. We also host a number of summer interns. And we actually just posted our internships online, and so people can go to our website and get the information about our internships. I believe we're offering 30 to 35 for next summer.
Oh, wow.
Mostly college people that are either in college or just graduated from college that come and can either do hands-on work with our education programs, with our animals, with our research staff. And
are those interns from all across the country or wherever? So you look for certain types of folks in experience, or what's your... because that's a lot of interns.
It is a lot of interns. And we do advertise across the country. We'd love to have more applicants from the state of Alaska. We really would, and we don't get as many as we'd like.
So we're saying to those folks out there, get on the website, right?
Get on the website and apply.
And apply. And how long are those interns? Summer only?
Summer only. They're normally 12, 14 weeks.
Well, that's pretty good. That's lots of times our interns here, we run them just about 3 months, about the same period. But most offices usually have interns only for 4 weeks. But it's hard to get a real grasp. I don't care if it's in government or probably in your line of work to really have the experience. Right.
So you have 12 weeks. We provide housing, so you don't have to find housing in the crazy summer season in Seward.
And why are you Alaskans not applying more? That's what I want to know.
But they're
That's a pretty
great
good deal.
positions. They really are. And we occasionally take veterinary fellows and some other specialized visiting students, graduate students in various areas of marine biology. We love to have visit us, and either to do research projects or as part of their training.
And Seward's a great place. I mean, it's not just for your facility, but it's just a great community, and your access to the rest of Alaska in the sense of being down there, you can access it pretty easy. And I know I've been down there for the mountain marathon at times, which is pretty wild in its own way. And I know you guys see that as also a great opportunity, because you get a lot of travelers from around the globe that come to that event.
Absolutely.
And it's a way to kind of bring them in after the event and say, come see what we're also doing here.
Right. It's we're pretty busy on the 4th of July, but because of the races, we're not as busy as most people would think. So people shouldn't hesitate to come.
Good.
If it's raining in between races, we get really
then
busy.
They're busy.
But
otherwise, they're out there eating the hot dogs and the pretzels, and then waiting for the runners and saying, "Oh, I wish I could be as healthy as them." Right.
Right. Exactly.
What now? When the big spill occurred in the Gulf of Mexico, did you guys participate in anything there in the sense of knowledge or calls from folks in the Gulf saying, is there ideas you have, or tell me, was there any relationship there? I'm just curious. I don't know if there was. I'm just curious.
Absolutely. Our scientists definitely got calls from people from the Gulf. We offered to send staff, but because of the timing, it was really tight timing for us. We had our stranding program which would be the people we would send wasn't very busy. Yeah. So we basically volunteered to help after the very first part of it, because typically with those situations, everyone wants to come for the first month, and then you lose all your volunteers. So we actually said, we can't come right now, but we'd be happy to come down the road if you need staff. one of our scientists has been doing a study in Alaska about lingering oil in Prince William Sound. And how that's affecting sea ducks, specifically harlequin ducks. And so I know she got several phone calls to get more information about what they were learning with lingering oil there so that they could translate that and do some baseline studies right away in the Gulf of Mexico so that you could follow those trends much better than was done after the Exxon Valdez oil spill.
Do you think the experience and the knowledge that you have at the SeaLife Center, that we have as Alaskans, I mean, that is not only valuable for the Gulf, but you know, do you have that kind of expertise that if anywhere in the globe that someone says, you know, we've had this incident, that we are a resource, not just to our state, but around the globe? Is that a fair statement?
And I guess based on geography, it's a lot easier to respond, for us to respond within Alaska, and it's a lot more difficult to bring people in from outside. But yes, we've gotten called for recommendations on how to deal with certain animals outside of Alaska and outside of the U.S. But more so with Alaska situations where there's a tanker that loses some oil. We're also on some responding teams for the North Slope if there was an oil spill up there.
So you're part of the overall oil spill response team of the North.
Right.
Oh, excellent. Let me, we got about 2 minutes before our break, but let me, I want to get into this maybe as we move into the next segment, but I know it's been an incredible facility built with federal funds, local dollars, private sector folks over the years. It's had a good federal support, but now it's decreasing. It's one of your struggles that you have or challenges in the future. I want to talk a little bit about that when we get back, but I know you have several events that you always do every year, and the one, and we just have about 30 seconds and we'll go into more on the break, after the break, but the gala, which you've done now twice or 3 times.
Our third one will be coming up in February.
Okay.
Our Alaska Marine Gala. It's a blue tie event.
I know, that's right. I wanted you to make that note. It's not a black tie.
It's a blue tie, and I've already started. I've got my blue to wear to it already. But it's a great event. It's at the Denine Center in Anchorage, so that it's a lot more reachable than the center is for folks.
Right. And it's been very successful, starting to kind of get a more of a not Seward basic or centric, but a statewide centric event.
Right, because we are the Alaska SeaLife Center,
that's right,
not the Seward SeaLife Center.
Right, and in that event, again, I know you have recognized there was a young man last year, if I remember right, that was recognized for his work and his caring for sea life, and he did a great job, and he was ecstatic. I think
Kiefer Brown.
He was 10 or 12.
He was 10, and he's raised money for us in Seldovia every summer, and he brought another donation into us this fall. So he's a very special young man.
Yeah, he's a hero for the SeaLife Center, and I was very impressed with him. He had big words he talked I couldn't understand.
He's a very intelligent man, and he raises money for our harbor seals.
Yeah, it's great. Well, when we get back, we'll take a short break here. We'll be back with the Alaska Report and Dr. Tara Jones, the CEO of Alaska SeaLife Center, and we'll have a little more conversation about the great SeaLife Center in Seward. That's Alaska's SeaLife Center.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
Welcome back to the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Mark Begich. Today we're talking to Dr. Jones, who is the CEO of the Alaska SeaLife Center. Doctor, again, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for the first half of the show, kind of getting people familiar with the SeaLife Center. Before we took our break, we were talking about some of the events, and the gala is one of them, which of course we would tell people if they're interested in getting tickets or being part of that, being a sponsor, that they should go to your website, Is that right?
They should go to our website.
I'm giving
and
you the
there's-
softball there.
Exactly.
To
There's
make
a
the
link
pitch.
directly there that you can sign up for tickets or to be a sponsor right there on the website. Our speaker this year is Jeff Corwin. Parents will know him as from Animal Planet.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a good, he will be interesting.
He should be a very, very fun evening. We
Yeah.
like to throw a good party. So
Yeah.
we've got a silent auction, a live auction with some great items, some unique things you can only get from the SeaLife Center.
I have to tell you, there are a couple items I remember last year that I saw go up for auction, and they are very unique. And I forget what the gentleman's boat that you can go on, who's has a film production studio.
The
or
Strider,
something.
out of Seward.
Unbelievable facility boat. I mean, I've been on boats before and out in Seward, but nothing like this.
And it's especially helpful when folks like yourself get up and help to be spotters in the auction, like you did last
I
year.
did last year. They said, here, hold this. I said, what am I doing with this? They said, you're going to pick people who are bidding. I said, can I pick people who aren't and make them bid? They said yes. Have been, and I think now is this your 10th year, 11th year? How long is the SeaLife Center?
1998 was when we first
98,
opened,
so it's
we're
14 years.
We're going on 14 years. Yeah.
Incredible facility. I've been a fan of it for a long time. I just think, for Alaska, there's no better place to talk about the ocean. As the chair of the Oceans Subcommittee for the Commerce Committee for the U.S. Senate, I mean, we talk a lot about the oceans and the value of it, the importance of it. You have an asset in the sense that not only helps understand the oceans, but also can treat the oceans in a way with our animals and understanding them better. So first, before we go on with some more comments and questions here, I want to thank you and your team because they really do a great job. And every time I go there, they're helpful, they're knowledgeable. I watch them interact with people who are visiting, and it's like they just got there for the first day and they're happy. And some of those folks have been there from early days. So
right, it's a fun place to work, and our
Yeah, you
staff
can
really
tell.
enjoy working with those animals.
Tell me now, do you have other events you do? Because I mean, part of what you're trying to do is one, being recognition to the SeaLife Center, but also, to be very frank, you're raising money to make sure it operates, to continue to do the work you're doing. And we'll get into the federal part here, which is getting tougher and tougher just because the budgets of the federal government are tougher. But you do other events, and I think you do a run or...
Right, we do a wildlife
I'm not a
rescue.
runner, but I know all about it.
You don't have to run, it's a walk or a run. Wildlife
Now you're
rescue
talking
run.
my language.
It's a 5K along the Seward waterfront that we do in
Which is beautiful.
August every year. So don't go to the website yet on that, but we're in the Alaska Runners calendar. It's a great event. I did it this last year and increased my time quite a bit. So it was a lot of fun. Our puffin mascot typically does the run as well.
Oh, really?
A little slower than me.
I was going to say, probably faster than me, but that's okay.
Professor Tough Ted Puffin.
Is that the name? I
Yeah,
love it.
it normally takes him about 45 minutes.
45
to do,
minutes.
I think.
Well,
I'm a little faster
that's
than
pretty
that,
fast.
but not much faster. So that's a great event. We're combining it with our fishing invitational this next summer as well. So if people want to come down and fish, they can do that along with that event. My favorite in Seward event is our mini golf tournament, which I believe is in March.
What is this one? I haven't heard this one.
This is when you get to go in the back, behind the scenes of the SeaLife Center and play mini golf.
Oh, really?
And some of it involves going down flights of stairs, through our pump room,
Really?
through our education centers, and just you get to see the center from a very different point of view.
Yeah.
And so it's great fun. We get a lot of people both from Seward and people coming down from Anchorage and all over South Central Alaska for it. Some of them dress up in costumes. There's a costume contest as part of this. But it's a fun adult-only sort of event.
But again, the idea there is to bring information to the folks about what the SeaLife Center does, to educate them, but also, again, to raise money, have fun, and recognize that this is an important piece of the infrastructure of Alaska to help understand when you have 3/4 of the coast of the country, Alaska should be, and I believe is in a lot of ways, when it comes to fisheries and understanding the oceans, we are it. A lot of other states may talk about it, but with the coastline we have and the diversity of our coastline from southeast to the Arctic is very diverse in what's going on, and then also all the new information that's coming from acidification of waters to the warming of the waters to the climate change issues. We are becoming more and more not only being impacted by these things, but also the research place. If you want to know about it, learn about it, Alaska's a place to go, and your facility is one of those.
Right. And we are a nonprofit research center and aquarium. So, many people have thought over the years that we were state funded, federal funded, a government facility, and we're not. We are a nonprofit. And so we are putting an extra effort into our fundraising now because some of our federal support funds have been going down.
That's right.
And we need to maintain that capacity to support the oceans of Alaska and really understand the animals in the oceans.
Well, I know one of the things that over the years, the SeaLife Center has been a recipient of earmarks, and I'm a big fan of earmarks, but not all of Congress is, and they've outlawed them for now, which is too bad because I think this is how we, as individuals who represent our states, help direct money directly to our states, that we understand the needs rather than some bureaucracy out there that may not understand what's going on. And so it's had an impact, and I think and another piece of it we know is that NOAA that's been giving a baseline budget for you. We're worried about that in these very tight financial situation of the federal government, and we're going to do our best to kind of pressure that, and that's about 1.8 million or so that we want to make sure continues to come from the federal government, because NOAA receives benefit from this research, and the rest of the country receives benefit. It's not just we have a center in Alaska and tourists get to go see it, and Alaskans get the benefit, as we talked in the first half. This is a national research center in a sense, because you are doing research that benefits the country and in some cases internationally.
Right. And so our research, we kind of started our bread and butter with stellar sea lion work, and that was of high interest. And we've branched out from that into other areas and geographically as well. For instance, our stellar sea lions, you mentioned international work.
Right.
We have a scientist who does a lot of work in Russia, which is very important because sea lions don't know international borders.
They fish in, well, let me say, anything in the ocean has no clue where the line is.
Right.
Our fishermen tell us that every day.
Exactly. So the sea lions go back and forth, and it's very important to know how the health of the sea lions over there, because it's an adjacent population to that in the U.S., part of which is endangered right now. So it's that's kind of where we started. We've branched into a lot of other research areas over the years. We have a thriving stellars and spectacled eider research program. The eiders are sea ducks that are mainly Arctic species and migrate great distances between summer and winter.
When you say great distances, I think I know the answer to this, but I just want you.
Well, okay, not as far as some, but from the Aleutian chain up to the North Slope.
See, if we explain that, for Alaskans, we say, not that much. If I go down to the lower 48 and I say, 900 miles to 1,200 miles, they'd say, wow, that's a long ways.
Yeah, it's a long way.
And we'd say, we're still in Alaska.
Right. We're also doing some coconut beluga research, and
you are.
One of our real strengths in research is remotely monitoring and observing animals. With animals that live in the ocean, it's kind of hard to watch what they do all the time. So if you have a way to track them or monitor them remotely, it's much easier to track them. So we do that with sea lions on our Chiswell rookery, harbor seals in Kenai Fjords National Park. We just started doing some of that with coconut belugas in the Little Sioux River this year. Wow. And we've also done some filming of walrus in some of their areas.
And so those projects, are they partnerships then with federal agencies or state agencies or private companies that need research done, or is it a combination of all that?
It's a combination, and we're always partnering with the federal agencies because they have. We're under permit on doing all this research with the federal agencies, so they're always involved.
So you already have the agreement to do this kind of work, and as they see the need, they turn to you as one of the official groups that they can tap into. Is that? And
funding sources come from all over. Some of it's from National Science Foundation, Office of Naval Research, National Marine Fisheries Service, of course, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So there's a broad range of organizations that we get funding from.
Well, I know the big challenge as we move into this next budget cycle is to do what we can here in Washington to at least make sure that there's some baseline dollars there, because NOAA can't do it themselves. National Marine Fisheries can't do it themselves. They need these partners like you, and you're a unique facility in this country. There's not a whole bunch of you. There's you and a few others, but really you have a unique capacity. And the goal I think we have to have here is we can't do all that from the federal government. You do it more efficiently and more cost effective, to be very frank with you, and you can partner and be more flexible in how you get this research done. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. We've got a facility that is nowhere else. It's an
Right.
amazing facility, the only one of its kind in Alaska. And we also have, we have a stranding program where we bring animals in that are orphaned or injured or
For
some-
rehabilitation?
For
and so-
rehabilitation. We also, if there's animals that haven't made it, we go out and do necropsies on them and try to learn what we can from them. And that's a skill that we do to learn more about them, but also it prepares us to be prepared in case there's an oil spill or some other situation where there's a broader need to respond to animals.
Well, first, we got a couple minutes left. I'm going to ask you kind of if we missed anything, but I as you were talking there, I was thinking to myself of a hearing I had just held recently, and it was on genetically engineered salmon, which we're very concerned about. As you can imagine, we call them Frankenfish, and someday you might have to do some surgery on those to find out what really they're about, because we tried to learn that today. It wasn't as clear as some would like. We had some great scientists on the panel and talked about the importance, but also just reminded me, because they talked about Alaska a lot in this, about the sustainability and what's unique about our fisheries and our marine life and so forth. And it was just reminding me that facilities like yours and others, that we can ensure we understand our oceans better,
Right.
understand what's in the oceans better, is going to improve our lives, not only from a food supply, but also just from the environmental habitat that we live in. And so, again, your work is exceptional. Let me, in this last minute, if you have anything you want to, if I missed anything, this is your opportunity. Anything you want to put out there and promote, this is it. It's like selling a book.
Exactly, right, yeah. Well, I definitely just encourage people to come visit us and support us, become members, and come to our events. It's a great
That's
way
right,
of
because they
being
can be
with us.
members, right? You
Right.
want them to be a member, you can get a membership, right?
You get special mailings and special events that we do for members only. So it's a great gift to give to people, and great for people that are in the state and come down to Seward more often.
Very good. Well, again, Dr. Jones, thank you very much. Thank you for your leadership there in helping Alaska be on not only the map of the country in the sense of our work there, but in your work, but also on the international map. It's a great statement. And again, I'd encourage anyone who has the time to go down to the SeaLife Center, and as stated clearly, it's not just Seward SeaLife Center, it's the Alaska SeaLife Center. It is all of ours to enjoy in our great state. Another great asset and great work being done that gives us a mark, not only in Alaska, but across this globe, of the great scientists and the research that we're doing on marine life. We're just out of time here on this episode at Alaska Report, and I'd again like to thank my guest, Dr. Jones from the Alaska SeaLife Center. The SeaLife Center is an amazing facility. I hope you take the time, maybe with you and your family or visiting, to stop by the SeaLife Center or go to one of their events, help support them, and be a member. But again, thank you very much, Dr. Jones, and we look forward to the next Alaska Report.